Gabby.
And I'm Shanna.
And we're 27 Travels.
And this video is going to be what did we really think of our Virgin Voyages cruise?
Basically, pros, cons, all of it. So if you're looking to book a Virgin Voyages cruise, you're gonna have to watch this whole entire video so you can know the pros and cons that we thought there were in our experience, so you can know if it's worth it for you to go or not.
Also, Rascal's here.
Yeah, Rascal's behind us. He's being cute. He did not do the Virgin Voyages, but he has an opinion and it's con because my moms were gone.
Before we even did the Virgin Voyages cruise, Gabby and I have always said we're just not cruise people. We had both done cruises before. I had done one when I was like 13, so it's like a little while back. But I just remember like not really having like the best experience.
I wouldn't say that I ever had a really strong opinion of cruises in general. Like I had done one when I was a kid with my family and I had had a good time. And I had done one with my best friend when I was 21 and it was fun. But I feel like it just was never like, for me, my favorite kind of travel experience. I always liked like traveling and going off the beaten path and getting the local experience, which I always felt like even though cruises are fun, that's not always what you get. It's just like a very different kind of experience, a cruise, from like how Shanna and I usually travel together. So in our relationship, we always were like a cruise,
not for us.
Not for us. But luckily, we did actually get the opportunity to go on a Virgin Voyages cruise over the summer. And we were like, when you have these kinds of opportunities, you have to take it, because even if you think that you don't love something, it's always good to still keep trying things, because there's different kinds of cruises out there and you want to make sure that you aren't like closing yourself off to something that like could be a really enjoyable experience, even if it's not maybe your preferred method of travel.
And also we had heard a lot of good things about Virgin Voyages from our friends who have done it, who typically travel the way that we do. So we're kind of like, you know what, I think we should give this one a shot. It can't hurt. Let's just see what we think. So if you haven't seen our 2 cruise videos, I'll make sure to link them down in the description and like kind of put them over here. We filmed like the entire cruise and we kind of said our thoughts about being on the cruise while we were on it, but we also just want to do like a more in-depth, like actually talking about all the experiences and like pros and cons and what we really think of the experience now that we've been out of it for a few months.
So a real pro to being on a cruise, especially a Virgin Voyage cruise, is that this is an adults only cruise. So that means that there are no children. There's literally nobody under the age of 18 on the ship, and that's something that we both really liked, because in the past, I mean, I think we both mentioned that we had been on a cruise ship as kids. There are lots of kids things on most cruise ships, and a lot of like spaces, like public spaces, tend to be for kids. And if you're someone on a cruise and you don't have children, that can be like,
it could be a little bothersome, it could be a little bit annoying. I mean, we have no issue with kids, obviously, but I think it's more of just like the kind of experience that you want to have while traveling. The vibe is just more like adults, and I feel like we really like that about the cruise. So another pro is that you get to experience a lot of different places without having to change where you're staying every single time. So for example, if Gabby and I are going to go on all the places that our cruise went to, which was Barcelona, Marseille, Cannes, which are in France, and then Majorca and Ibiza, which are islands in Spain, and then go back to Barcelona, we would have to stay at different accommodations in each one, and then also get ourselves to the different areas in each country that we're visiting. But when you're on a cruise, your accommodation is the same the entire time. You don't have to pack and repack all of your stuff, and you get to experience lots of different places without having to do all the travel that normally takes to get there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That is such a big plus, and it is so convenient. Not to mention, our like actual room on the Virgin Voyages cruise was a really, really nice room, and I felt like it made us feel so at home to be like in that space every day when we like were doing things. A major pro of doing any kind of cruise is convenience. Like instead of spending time, you know, like at the airport, like on different boats, like and like lugging all your stuff with you, you do not have to do that, because when you're at sea and you're heading somewhere, you are literally getting the convenience of being able to do whatever you want during that time. Like the ship that we were on literally had like shows, activities, casinos, shops, restaurants, so much different stuff. So you are spending all of your free time being able to do that instead of traveling from place to place. So it is just pure convenience. Usually when you travel, you have to figure out every little detail. Like Shanna and I, whenever we go anywhere, we have every single detail figured out, like how we're gonna get from here, how we're gonna go there, where we're gonna eat, all of that stuff. And you don't really need to think about that as much when you're on a cruise ship.
Another pro, kind of going off of the same thing, is accessibility. I mean, for us, we're very able-bodied people, but maybe you're traveling with an elderly or older family member or someone who's disabled, and cruises are an amazing way for everyone to be able to travel the same way and get to experience the same kinds of places. Like we saw so many people on our cruise who were in wheelchairs, who were on crutches, and a lot of people who were traveling with like their whole family. So there were like people who were like kind of like our age, like in their like 20s and 30s, but then also like elderly people as well. And everyone was just like having such a great time. And like all these experiences were for all of those people.
Yeah, I do think it's really important. And I mean, if you're not an able-bodied person and you have any kind of accessibility issue, a cruise is a great way to be able to see so many different places. And also it's a great way if you're traveling, like what Shanna said, with like multiple different generations of people in your family, then you're able to travel with them, and like you can go and be adventurous during the day, but they can go and do less stuff and still be able to see the same spaces and places. And that's really important. It just makes travel really accessible to all kinds of people.
I think another pro is also having your meals and stuff be included. So when you're on the ship, it's basically all you can eat. You can kind of eat whenever you want to. There are certain restaurants that are like only open for breakfast or only for lunch or only for dinner or like only open like late at night. But when you pay for the cruise, you're paying for your food as well. So that kind of just goes into saving money essentially. So if you didn't want to spend money while you're out exploring all these other places because maybe it's too expensive for you, you don't have to, because you can eat on the ship. I will say though that if you did want to drink alcohol, I believe that's like a separate package that you like add on. And there are some things on the ship that like if you wanted it, you would have to pay for it. Like I think there's like a fancy coffee shop that we kept going to
a bunch of times.
But there's also just like regular coffee if that's included with the like all you can eat like food option when you buy your ticket. But there are some things on the cruise that if you wanted like a little extra perk, you could pay for that. But it's really nice to not have to worry about where you're gonna eat. And for us as vegans, there was a lot of really good vegan options on the ship, and we were really impressed because that was one of the things that we were really like concerned about before going on the cruise, is like, oh my God, like are we gonna be able to eat anything? Is the food gonna be good? But it was actually really, really good vegan options.
One more thing that we kind of mentioned but also didn't state as a pro is just like the facilities that the ship has are like incredibly convenient and like so nice. The ship we were on, the Valiant Lady, which is part of the Virgin Voyages fleet, had so many different facilities that were so convenient and amazing. Like for example, you have access to a gym, you have access to lots of different events, lots of parties, lots of restaurants, and even just things like, you know, like a crafting hour or like a gaming hour. There was like a gaming room.
We played pickleball once.
We played pickleball once. There was like a gaming room, and Shanna and I pretty much went to the gaming room every day to play like different board games.
There's also an arcade, so if you wanted to play more like arcade type games, you could also do that. Like there's just so much stuff to do on the ship.
You don't get bored, and if anything, you really enjoy your free time when you're not like actually at a destination, because you could be like sitting by the pool, sunbathing, in the hot tub, like whatever it is, there's something for you to do for like all different interests. So that part is really great. And I think this goes down to the point too, that if you're traveling with family or other people, like say we went on a trip with all of our friends and we did a cruise, like we could go play pickleball while everybody else like drinks by the pool. Like there's options for every kind of person and every kind of lifestyle, like all aboard one place, which is very, very convenient.
So another pro is like how sustainable the Virgin ship is. So everything on the ship was reusable, like all the cups, all the plates, all the utensils, literally everything was reusable, and like we barely threw anything out, which I thought was really amazing, because that's one pretty big con of most cruise ships, is like how badly that most cruise ships contribute to waste. A lot of the things are like single-use plastic and you're throwing it out, and then maybe they're not recycling it properly because they're a big cruise ship and they have so much, whatever. But Virgin did a really good job of like basically everything that we use in terms of like eating or drinking was reusable. We didn't throw any of that stuff out. Like it would just be like washed and like used again for the next day. So I thought that was really awesome and very different than what we've heard from other cruises. Okay, so now we're gonna do some of the cons, and then like these cons are probably gonna be more personal to us as people, and like not necessarily like a general con, like, you know, everyone is gonna feel the same way, but we just wanna give you our opinion. If you guys watch our videos and you know how we travel, you know the way that we like to travel, so I feel like the cons for us are gonna be kind of related to that. So I think one con for me was not having enough time in like the places that we docked at. If we got there, let's say at like 7 in the morning, then maybe the ship would leave at like 4 p.m. And then you still have to factor in how you're getting from where the ship is docked to the actual area that you want to like see and explore, and then also getting back to the ship before it leaves. So I feel like that kind of cuts out like a few hours of the actual time you have exploring. And there were some places where like we were fairly close to the areas that we wanted to explore, and then there were also some areas where we needed to like take a tender, which is like a smaller ship from the cruise ship to like the land, and you have to like book certain time slots for that. So I feel like for us, we just kind of felt like we didn't have like the exact amount of time that we normally like to have.
For sure, I agree with Shanna on this one. Cruises are 100% fast travel. You will never experience a place quicker than you do on a cruise. It's just the amount of time that you have there is so limited, and maybe if you went on the kind of cruise that like stayed in one place for like 10 days, this would be a different conversation. But doing something like what we did, where we were in like 5 different places in like 7 days, like you just are never anywhere like long enough, at least for our opinion of how long you should be somewhere. Okay, another con in my personal opinion is that sometimes the boat will dock you somewhere that is pretty far from the area you actually want to be in. So for example, in Majorca, we like docked in the port area and we still had to like leave the boat, get to the port, take a local bus, take the bus all the way into town, and then we were in the local area. I find that a little bit inconvenient. I obviously understand that cruise ships are huge and they really shouldn't be docking too close to where like the actual community is, but that is definitely something that I would consider a con when you're traveling this way, because if you flew into an airport or like we're staying in the city somewhere, you would be in the center of it all, but when you're staying on a cruise, a lot of times you're docked pretty far away from whatever is the center of everything happening.
I think another con, again, this all has to do with like the traveling aspect, I feel like, because Gabby and I are pretty seasoned travelers, was we weren't able to necessarily leave the ship when we wanted to. Like there were some times where you just could get off the ship and walk off into the destination where you were docked, and like that would be fine. But there were other times where you needed to like book time slots to get on a bus to take you somewhere, or book time slots to get on a tender to take you somewhere. So for example, when we got to Cannes, you needed to book a tender from the cruise ship to Cannes, and we were out exploring the day before in Marseille, and then we got back to the ship and saw that you needed to book your tenders, and all of them were booked except for like the last time slot, which was like at 12 p.m. So Gabby and I like could not leave the cruise ship until 12 p.m. because all other ones were booked up, where normally we would spend like from the time we docked there, like 8 a.m. until we possibly could out exploring. But because we missed the like time where you schedule the tender, we had to leave at 12 p.m. and that kind of like upset us because there were more things that we could have done while we were in Cannes, but we just didn't have enough time because we couldn't get off the ship when we wanted to, basically.
Yeah, what Shanna's saying here actually really annoyed us and brings me into my next con, which is going to legitimately be the Virgin Voyages app. So like when you're on the cruise ship, you have the Virgin Voyages app, and at first when you're on the ship, it seems like a really convenient thing, but then when you explore, like what Shanna's saying, we quickly realize that the Virgin Voyages app only works when you're on the Wi-Fi connection on the ship. So for example, like when you want to book something, like what Shanna's saying, you need to schedule it through the Virgin Voyages app, which you can legitimately not use at all the second you step off the boat.
Which is kind of weird, I think.
Which is kind of weird. That's something that we found to be really inconvenient and definitely a con against this experience, because even though the app works great when you're on the boat, you pretty much need it all the times when you're not on the boat to kind of know like, oh, what activities are coming up? Do I want to go back? But then you can't see, so you have no idea.
Yeah, there's also like you have to make dinner reservations or like show reservations for certain things on the app as well. So like there would be some times where like we had a dinner reservation but we couldn't remember like exactly what time it was, and then we tried to go on the app to see it and like it wouldn't work because we were like not on the ship. So yeah, definitely a little bit annoying when we're trying to like plan what we're doing for our day.
Yeah, so not a fan of that.
So another con is that there are a few different pools or like hot tubs on the Virgin ship. On the Valiant Lady that we were on, I think there were 2 pools and maybe 1 hot tub.
Yeah.
That was like for like that everyone could use, but they were always crowded. Like the seats around the pool were always taken, and they do say like, oh, if you're not in your chair for like 45 minutes, then they'll like move your stuff or whatever so that someone else could sit there. But in a general sense, Gabby and I could literally never sit by the pool, or if we did, we had to like put our stuff like on the floor, basically, because there was just like never any room by the pool. I think the pool area, there's just like not enough chairs around it for the amount of people that are on the ship. And it does get really, really hot, especially if you're going in the summer, like in Europe, like we were. Like there were some days where we couldn't even sit out on the sun deck for like more than like an hour because the sun's just like beating down on you. It's like really, really hot. So like you want to go in the pool to like cool off. And it's just like super, super crowded. It kind of feels like a frat party almost in the pool because there's just so many people around and in the pool. Okay, so I think that's it for our pros and cons of like what we thought about going on a Virgin Voyages cruise. But I think all that to say, like at the end of the day, I think we really liked it so much more than we thought we were going to, and we would 100% do a cruise again under the right circumstances. I feel like Gabby was saying earlier in the video, like if we were gonna travel with our friends, I think this would be an amazing way to travel because you could all be together but also have opportunities to do some separate things if you wanted to. If some people wanted to be more chill and like some people wanted to be like super, super adventurous, I think a cruise is a really great way for like a big group to travel where everyone is doing the same things but has the opportunity to do different things if they want to.
Yeah, and I think that us even saying that we liked our experience on the Virgin cruise and that we would do it again just tells you that it was a good experience, because like I said, we're not cruise people. If we really hated it, we would never do it again. But I think that both of us are like, that was a good experience. Like, we would definitely do like a Virgin Voyages cruise again.
I don't think that we would want to do a cruise like every single time we travel. Like, we have some friends that every time they travel, they go and do a cruise, and that's totally fine. I feel like it's just not our vibe for 100% of the time.
Yeah, no.
But I think for occasionally, I think, yeah, we could definitely do a Virgin Voyages cruise again.
Yeah, I think you all know that that is not us, but I can definitely see like the reasons why there are people that love to go on cruises. And I think it's good to try lots of different ways of travel and just like learn about all different kind of experiences. So I am really glad that we got to do a Virgin cruise and like see what it was like for ourselves. And I think that we were really honest in this video of telling you all what we like really liked and really didn't like the things that irked us. So if you have any other questions, just leave them down below. I'm sure there's just things that we didn't think of, but like these were the things that really like stuck with us like from the experience.
All right, so thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon with another video because Vlogmas is starting soon.
Yes, I'm excited.
Bye.
Bye.